everyone? Listen, we live today right here for Bitcoin and blessings. We coming in and we coming out, but we coming with some live information that has not been really been talked about, but we don't miss a beat when it comes to Bitcoin because we got to hear and give you some blessings. Here's the team: BK Crypto, Kimberly,
Kimberly, otherwise known as BK Crypto Chick on Twitter.
I'm Rashona Bennett, aka RB Rising One. It's your spiritualist, crypto spiritualist chick, and we got on the other side to your right, Dylan.
I'm Dylan. How you doing?
We love him. He's an innovator. And
I'm very simple, yeah.
Right? And then we got the macro micro guy who's in the back with the stormy background. What's up, Ann?
What's up, guys? What's up? What's going on?
Hey, well,
on a Sunday evening.
We just wanted to come live real quick to let people know what is going on in the crypto space, get you caught up. So, you know what? Before we get into that, if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit the heart button and follow us. And we actually come live with Echo at around 11:30 on Sunday mornings. And then we have Bitcoin and Blessings, this show on Sunday evening, somewhere between 7 o'clock, somewhere between 7 and 8. So follow us. Yes. And we have normally Bitcoin and Blessings. We have Stacks with us. So they couldn't join us today. So we're just coming live today. So join us Sunday evenings for Bitcoin and Blessings, Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. for Echo. So what has been happening in crypto this past week, guys?
Well, listen, let's just be clear, right?
What?
So 420 happened. That's smoking it up. And we just want to know, right? What was we don't smoke and some do, but to honor just the energy that's been happening. So the Bitcoin happened, what, 418? About 418, guys. Then you had the Bitcoin happened. 418. You have 420, which is known as the Smoker's Day, but energetically, that was a time to light something new in your life. And then you had 422, which is the big day, which is basically celebrating Earth Day. And many people were missing what was happening. We're about to now zoom into after the halving what was going on, and so let the people know what was happening that we was missing in the news.
There's a couple of things. Obviously, there's a lot of people starting to say, well, hey, you know, the halving, as I believe it was it JP Morgan that said that the halving was priced in, which I don't believe is true. I think we've still got a little ways to go before seeing that play out. What's really been happening is obviously all the issues in Israel, in Pakistan, obviously Iran came to the forefront launching missiles, but that was just pretty much a show of force on both sides. I don't think either side wanted to really escalate things, but what that did is it really dropped the price in most markets. Gold held up a little bit more than the others, but here we are. We're back to the same levels that we were at about the beginning of March, 63,000. And that's what we've been seeing since Bitcoin broke its high of 70,000. It's gone up to about 73, but we've been ranging between about 68 to 62 on the low end. So what we're seeing really is consistent a buildup, and for what I think is going to be, in my opinion, a launch, because it's really consolidated in that range. And usually when you have a long period of consolidation like that, you get a shoot up in price. So I think that's what we're looking at. We've got Senator Warren this week sending out some crazy letter to the DOJ talking about, Bitcoin is used in sexual pedophilia. You've got the lawsuit, the SEC's lawsuit against, Consensus ended up suing the SEC. Consensus, builder of MetaMask, they ended up suing the SEC because they're tired of their shenanigans. There's another bill out there that's deeming that any type of wallet or anything is a money transmitter, which makes no sense because that means, you know, our ISP services are money transmitters too. So they're trying to broaden the scope and broaden the perspective. And I saw STAKK and they made a post which was absolutely true, right? So the FBI deems, you know, Bitcoin a money transmission tool so that they can go after anti-money laundering, but then you've got the IRS who says it's property so that they can go after your tax.
Conflicting.
Which one is it? Which one is it?
Makes the thing so.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's interesting.
So that's a quick rundown of another bank collapse too in Philadelphia this past week. So all of these
Another
things.
one again, right?
Republic
Wow.
Bank. I think I just heard the year.
Another one, right? Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, you know, you have all these things swirling around, and it's making for a jittery market. And this is what you get when you get uncertainty in the markets. People don't like uncertainty in the markets. You get the volatility when you have the type of uncertainty we've had over the last couple of weeks.
Right, that's jittery markets across the board, traditional markets and crypto markets.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, what do you think is the next move, potentially in the next 60 days?
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking. What do you think?
Yeah.
You think we'll just consolidate for the next?
Yep.
I think
A
that.
long-term consolidation because
That's what
I think the big guys want to still get in. I think they're still looking for a black market sell personally, and they're trying to I feel like shake up the little guys to get out because a lot of little guys, let's be honest, who got in 2009 or the gamers 2011 still own Bitcoin. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're not shaking down yet.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of leverage caught up in the system as well. People are over leveraged in many occasions, so you're gonna get people. You're gonna get some long suffering. You're gonna get some short suffering. So I think, probably the next 60 days we're still gonna see that consolidation. And I forget, Dylan, what's the time period after the halving where the market really starts to move? Is it like 180 days? I forget what it was.
They say roughly about 3 months after. So I mean, that's when it starts to really kick in. So I think between now and the next 3 months, people have it's a very crucial time because I think it will actually test you because I think they want to play this out very long where they kind of drag you and see how long you could actually sustain holding despite having all those low drops and everything because again they really want you to like sell the bags, but let's see how this thing goes. Like I'll say 3 months from now things should be a little bit different from where it's like right now.
Like your T-shirt says, money flows where it's treated best. I think
exactly.
Exactly.
And right now, Bitcoin's going to start flowing into Bitcoin because it's been
right. You know, when you're in the army, you're being prepared. I think 2020 was preparation for us to be like how tough our skin really is, right? How much can we really sustain and wait and be patient when we build a legacy? And so this is the time now, right? We're not scared. We're not afraid. We understand the game being planned. So like Ansel said right now, this is a time if you have liquidity, stack up.
Yeah.
This is the time to stack up because when the train
leaves the station,
moving, man, it's gonna be a high that you ain't never seen before in your life.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too. I think a lot of people get, I guess, confused or don't really understand because you got so many people in crypto that like to brag. Hey, I made 100x on this. Hey, that's not everybody. You're gonna have much more percentage gains in this market than any other, but it still takes time.
Yes,
it's still you have to have a strategy. It still takes time, and you're still trying to preserve your wealth. While it's great to make wealth, but the best thing to do is how do I preserve it?
Yes,
so it's not leaving you. So for you out there that are possibly thinking about crypto, you've heard all the stories. And granted, yes, some of them are true. But the reality is this is a market that is a long-term investment. These things are at the forefront of the next revolution, the next industrial revolution. We're going through so much change. I was talking to my cousin last night. And, he looks at the market. He's more into stocks, but he sees it. He sees the change. And he's like, bro, this is what you've been telling me about all these years. And it's going through such a period of change, there's so much going on, but because everyone is so distracted,
Yes.
nobody's paying attention.
Yes.
You know?
They do
And
a
they
good
also
job
need-
though. Let's be honest. They do a good job keeping you distracted.
Yeah.
Think about it,
Yeah.
right? The news, they don't know. You don't know which news to watch, which is true. A lot of FUD is happening. A lot of meme coins. And not saying meme coins could be a strategy to build legacy long term, but it's also how you do it, right? I think for us being a BK Crypto and BK Crypto coaching and having trading is that not only that we've been through the highs and the lows, but we also know how to walk you through it, right? When you're like confused, don't understand the system, or you understand it, but you still feel you need someone on the under end to confirm your strategy, right? Let's think about that too. There's many ways to build legacy, right? But don't come in here as it's a gambling thing, because people come in here gambling and that becomes financial trauma all over again. And that's not cool. We come in with Bitcoin and blessings, not Bitcoin and gressings. Like we digressing and now we in this financial traumas and now we need therapy and we drinking a lot of liquor. That ain't cool. You gotta have control. It's not cool.
Right.
I mean, and to segue about the wealth factor, how about that 40% capital gains tax?
The
proposal.
proposal.
Yeah, the proposal about 40% capital gains tax. How about that?
And what, 25% unrealized?
Yes.
Unrealized.
Yes.
But, you know, what's interesting is they're proposing that on all markets, not just crypto and traditional markets, which is like
because they're getting desperate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're getting desperate. They want the
That is
people's money.
insane.
So the 1% because they're rich. Let's break it down, Ansel. Well, I mean, because we can stay on the realization of taxes, but this is a pattern that's constantly happening, right?
Yes. So pretty much, yeah. I don't know any other way to put it other than stealing your wealth, literally through taxation. Listen, we left. America revolted and left England because they were taxed 3%. We're talking 44% on capital gains. You mean to tell me if I'm an investor and I work all hard through my life to research these investments, to make these investments, you want to tax me 44%? Then if I die, you're going to give me a death tax, right?
Yes.
You're going to tax my income. Now you're saying, oh yeah, 25% taxes on unrealized gains, things I don't even cash in, but you want a piece of it.
Well, wait.
Is ridiculous.
When we talk about learning system, well, what did your boy do? Trump. He said, "I got something for y'all."
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he?
Yeah, he made his Mar-a-Lago into a cemetery.
Yes.
What did he do? What?
Official Mar-a-Lago, because he buried his
Right.
wives
Cemetery.
in Mar-a-Lago to make it a cemetery.
Correct.
Considered a cemetery, so
So
they
he'll get taxed.
Yes.
Oh,
Listen,
God.
man.
That was smart, right? That was very smart, right? So
What
I mean,
was
so you
he
see
doing
the actual
there?
lens that people have to go through just not to get taxed. Like, why we got to go through so many things just not to get taxed? I got to make my property a cemetery.
Mhm.
But
It's
on the
insane.
other end, you're right, Dylan. But I think what we
Insane.
also try to say to people, you gotta get smart, understand the system that you live
Yeah, we
in.
have
This
to.
is such
We
a
have to.
game.
Yeah,
This is
we have
such a game being played, and they're playing with your life.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the things that
Crazy.
you know, I've been in the job market again for a little while, and I must say is like, I don't know if any of these jobs are real. You know, I don't know if people are just putting it out there. I saw a couple of people on Twitter talking about this, like, who's getting jobs? You know, you see all these jobs out there, you apply to them, you get no response back, nothing, you know, and it's like, who's getting jobs? And then you see, you know, companies starting to cut as well. So what is really going on in these streets? You know, and it's just,
Well, one is that they have to post the jobs for,
Yes.
they have to post them, and then they actually have to interview a number of people too, even if they're not going to hire them, or if they're going to hire, they already know who they're going to hire.
Correct.
You know, that's just, it's ridiculous, wasting people's time. But, I don't know, because many companies are
laying off.
Are laying off. Exactly. Exactly. But this is what the Fed has been pushing for the past,
so
few years.
we can be dependent
Uh-huh,
on
exactly.
the government.
Yeah.
And
Also,
creating
we have
fear
to adapt as
tactics.
well.
And rolling universal basic income.
Yep.
Right.
I
What were you
think
saying,
also
Dylan?
we have to adapt, right? Because this thing is coming, so we have to adapt. Especially with those machines coming out now that's going to do our jobs, we have to adapt, right? So folks are going to need to start learning different skills to move them forward. It's only inevitable, right?
It is the skills, right? And it also, again, it's the collective, right? I actually happened to go to an event yesterday with Riza Islam, right? And he's a big personality that talks about pretty much anything from government changing the law, from health to AI to basically you being in control, right? Self-sovereign in a sense. And so he has a lot of wisdom. But what we talked about was also community, collaborative economics and community, right? And also because of what's being planted, he was like, you have to now be smart and aware. And so these are some of the things that he pointed out. He said, make sure you know some farmers, right? He said, make sure you start taking care of your health. He said, make sure that you start collecting gold and other investments and other minerals, right? And currency. He talked about land, right? Owning land and other products you should have. I think that when you have people such as himself and others that are talking about how to not only survive now, but to live because they are creating problems and creating fear tactics, you have to come up with a solution. And when we talk about Bitcoin and blessings being a solution, is exactly what we're saying. You have to come up with a solution that's going to prepare and protect you and your family. They're going to always create tactics to make you afraid, to have to lean on them for dependency.
Yep. Inflation and taxes built into the cake is built into the pie, and what you're seeing is it feels like we're headed towards stagflation, where this inflation is going to be really sticky for a few years. It's really not moving much. Granted, it just moved up, I think, last month. And what was it? Inflation moved up, and GDP, the last quarter GDP was down, lower than expected. So you start to look at the overall picture, and you look out there to see how can, whether it's the US or any other country, start to step into that new world, to the new digital world. And you see things like AI, blockchain, 3D printing, all of these new technologies that are out here that we have to stay abreast of. And I was telling my cousin, because he's of the idea that, AI is going to take over and we're all going to be, just dead. I said, no, think about when the gas station, when the car was first implemented, what new jobs did that create? You have to have mechanics. You had to have gas stations. You had to have tire shops. So that's what's going to happen. We have to start looking for the jobs that will be created by these technologies. Exactly. And there will be jobs created by these technologies. And you got to understand where the world is going. The only way you do that is to keep abreast of what's going on, because things are changing very rapidly, extremely rapidly.
To your point, question, and that can answer anybody. So what is the blessing that Bitcoin is bringing to the world?
Go ahead, Dylan.
Well, I mean, is that freedom, I think. The freedom and controlling of your own money, right? That's what the blessing that Bitcoin is bringing to people. Well, one of the blessings as well. Also wealth, is going to transform how we even the whole perceptions of wealth. And for the average person, that we have a chance to, shift that paradigm and help our family. So I think that's definitely a blessing that Bitcoin is going to bring to people, if you have some, and if you're aware of it. So I think definitely this is something that we have to all look into. All of us,
So
I would say two things. Number one, first and foremost, hands down, the most crucial. The first time in history we have a separation of money and state, meaning this is a currency not attached to any specific government, any specific person, corporation, what have you. That in itself is huge. And I think that's the part that people miss, right? Is the fact that this money can't be controlled by anybody. This is the people's money. Now, of course, you got your JP Morgans and um, um, what's the BlackRock
BlackRock,
and Fidelity that are
Fidelity.
going to come in and buy it. And, they can manipulate the market a little bit by, these trading algorithms, etc. But as long as you hold it, nobody can take that away from you. They can't confiscate it. Look at how many stories we see around the world. Just the other day, I saw on Twitter, this guy was going into his bank trying to take out $3,000 out of his own account. They asking 15 million questions of why is he taking his money out? You don't need permission with Bitcoin. So that's the other thing. It's the separation of state from money. Permissionless. You don't need to ask anybody can I spend Bitcoin here, there, every. No, you don't need to ask anybody. And three, that self-sovereignty that we touched on earlier. So,
and it's portable.
Yeah.
It's portable because you can't as easily carry around, gold bars and so forth.
Correct.
But, I think that Bitcoin, silver, and gold, those are all assets that people should, consider. Yep. Because I don't think it's just going to be one. But we need to diversify our assets. Yeah.
And just understand from our standpoint, while we do speak diversified, the reason we are so passionate about crypto is because it's in what's called a secular trend. So meaning this is a multi-year trend that's happening, the switch and the change from the old system to the new system. So when you're in a secular trend, you want most of your time and energy going to that new trend. Just like if we could go back and think of 1997, 1998, these .com companies going in.
Back at it again.
If you knew now,
exactly,
back then, what would you do? You'd be into Amazon, you'd be into Google, you'd be into so much, you'd be technology heavy.
But also, so I think we should also realize that Bitcoin is changing the business models, right? Just so the same way the internet changed the business model back then, just how we do business. How we do business, and who can do business with you now is about to change massively, right? So I think a lot of people don't realize that, but it's changing how entire business model, like how we make money, and that's also another way that I think is going to open up spaces for everyone in the world, because now someone in like a person who like makes crafts in Ghana or something, they'll be able to interact with someone or to like buy their products without any sort of middle intermediary and speed of light. So I think it's going to make things much easier, much different.
Agreed.
I agree. To your point, I think I want to add, not even I think I know I want to add, is that most of us, because like you said, we're distracted, we're constantly moving, we're working a 9 to 5 or 9 to 5 or 5 to 9, and we don't sometimes have the time to really stop and see that things are actually evolving around us. I think many people are looking for a change, but it's hard to have change when you're so stuck in your stagnation of life while you're lifing and living. And so having platforms such as BK Crypto STAKK, Journey to Wealth, so many that are talking about realistic things that are happening, if you're happen to just to catch a segment, to realize when you just stop and breathe, there are changes happening around you, and change is inevitable, right? The only thing that's constant is change. And when you said about the .coms, if we have a moment, right, we think about, I just had my 30-year reunion from Brooklyn Tech, and what was happening 30 years is different from what's happening now.
Yeah.
Right? From the music,
shift.
right? Yeah. From the music to how we talked on the phones, right? Yeah. Having access, who had access to a beeper, right? And even how we did the exchange for goods and services when we purchased products and services. And if we could just take a moment to realize that,
Yeah.
whether you understand Bitcoin or not, the monetary system and things around us is changing tremendously. I mean, how many was my mother, rest in power, she's like, Sean, I don't want to, I want to keep my flip phone, I don't want a smartphone. And then after a while, before 70, she was like, give me a smartphone. Because for her, it was like, I'm in style and I'm evolving. She didn't know how it worked, but she started learning how to text.
Right.
You best believe.
Exactly.
Tech made sense to her.
It made sense. And for her, being a baby boomer and knowing what's happening now with baby boomers now, $14.5 billion, literally liquidity, they're moving into this space. So if they're moving into this space because they wanted to live and not exist because of cost of living, whether you're in New York City, or California, it's expensive. If they're taking a look at where their money can actually make sense against inflation, why are the rest of us doing it?
Yeah. Two things. If I told you back in 1997 that in a few years you will be putting your credit card online to make purchases, you would have said, heck to the no. What? That doesn't even make sense. What happened? The advent of broadband. Then that's how, once broadband was created, then we got all the internet, buying things on the internet, the e-commerce and all of those things. So that's how things change. But we're at a time now, things are changing so much more rapidly, and I think people are just are going to get caught off guard, because it's changing so fast as well. As far as Bitcoin, now that we have the ETF, the reality of what's going to happen is people are going to be invested in Bitcoin and they won't even know, because the BlackRocks, the Fidelities of the world are starting to put this in their other portfolios.
And now China. So,
Oh,
China.
yes.
Yeah, Hong Kong. That's right. So, I just really think it's gonna be a war for Bitcoin. I really do think so. In the next, not war as in physical war, just buying it on a global scale, because at every level, from a country level, from an institutional level, from a family office level, all the way down to a personal level, it makes sense.
And that's why I think folks need to realize that these are countries, the biggest economies in the world, buying this stuff. It's not like these are countries buying this. So if they're buying it, right, there's reason they're buying it. You should definitely at least look into why they're buying it, and maybe you should buy some for yourself. So
El Salvador.
Yeah,
exactly. El Salvador.
Paid off the debt, but then they have a community. Literally, that's a Bitcoin community.
Yeah,
they're evolving, right?
It was the first Bitcoin experiment right of the country, so that's
yes, they experimented.
I think that's really going to be the countries that capture the next few decades, the ones that welcome that type of innovation, and don't try to push it offshore like the U.S. has really tried to do the last few years. You've got companies like a Consensus, like a Coinbase, that say, hey, we're going to stay here and fight. But there's a ton of other companies that don't have the resources that Consensus or Coinbase has to be able to fight the SEC. So that's the part I worry about, is how much of this they're pushing offshores, and it should be being built here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we will table the rest of this conversation to next week and see what what new things pop up in the world of cryptocurrency and traditional markets. So see us next week. If you haven't already done so, follow us here at BK Crypto. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday for Echo at around 11-ish in the morning, and Bitcoin and Blessings at around 7-ish at night. So put the bell on, and we'll see you then.
Bitcoin and Blessings.
Gotta break free, push boundaries to the sky.